let's start out our positional rankings by talking about your quarterback rankings this week, Nick.
Yes, and I use a very complex algorithm.
Strictly scientific.
Yes, it's the old H&G, H, hunch and gut.
Oh.
And I'll tell you what, you can take these rankings and
to the
put them
blood
up against.
bank.
You can take these to a bank. You can take them to a food bank. You could. Yeah, these are pretty good. I feel like these are pretty solid rankings this week because there's a lot that gets taken into consideration. This isn't just, oh, these guys are good. Let me put them in the order of how terrific I think they are. Matchups, weather, everything.
You've taken it all into consideration.
All of it under consideration this week.
You've got Drew Brees at number 1, even though he's not as great of a performer on the road. And the Dallas defense, we made tons of fun of it before the season, has been better than expected so far this year.
It's been surprisingly, I wonder if the whole we lost our defensive leader, we lost our defensive leader with Sean Lee going out in the offseason. So was it a next man up or like, no one's going to respect us type of thing? Or did they cowboy up or something? I don't know. But they're playing better than expected. And they're benching Mo Claiborne in favor of their actual best cornerback, Orlando Scandrick.
Yeah. Old Mo's not taking it so well.
No, he
stormed
didn't.
Stormed out of the facility, apparently.
Went on a bit of a walkabout, did he?
So explain to me why you think Drew Brees is going to be the number 1 QB this week.
Why do I believe Drew Brees will be the number 1 quarterback this week? Well, I could play the whole.
Peyton Manning's not playing.
Because Peyton Manning's not playing. Who am I going to make the number 1 quarterback? I mean, I was tempted to actually make it Romo, but
he with the exception of last week put together a good second half against the Rams.
He did.
Hasn't looked like the Romo of old in terms of fantasy.
Granted, Dez Bryant last week on that particular play that got Romo a lot of his yards and that huge touchdown. Dez Bryant was Hawaii, and the St. Louis defense was the continental United States.
He was there. He was quite literally on an island.
He was literally. He was so wide open. You can provide your own crude reference at home. I have a feeling this is going to be a shootout. I do. I think this is going to be just a good old-fashioned. I'm hoping for the 2014 version of Broncos at Cowboys.
That was a fun one.
That was my favorite non-Patriots game of last year. It was a phenomenal fantasy game.
There is historical precedent with this Dallas-New Orleans game. It was 2012 when Dez Bryant had his big coming-out party, 9 catches for 224 and 2 touchdowns. Or that was, and then 2013, I think, was the year when the Saints rolled up 600-plus yards of offense and 40 first downs. So why not? Why not? Third time's a charm.
Sure, that's the expression.
These things come in threes or something. Something about 3.
I heard that 3 strikes and good for you.
Yes. Aaron Rodgers is your 3rd quarterback on the board, and he has not been himself. It's not.
No.
Obviously, the running game hasn't been going so great for that offense. They've played some tough defenses to start the year, but he's been missing throws that he usually makes.
The running game for Green Bay has fire ants and squirrels on it. It's trash. It's awful. Look, everything about the Green Bay offense right now is not working. Aaron Rodgers isn't playing like himself. Eddie Lacy is not running like himself, or the carbon copy version, or like a stock summer theater actor playing the part of Eddie Lacy. He's not even Damon Wayans playing Eddie Lacy in a Nike commercial. It's terrible.
That is bad.
And their offensive line. 2 quarterbacks that wear the number 12 in the NFL that we rely on for so much excitement and fantasy output on Sundays. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, both playing terribly so far this year. Yeah. That said, this week he did go on to the radio and tell everyone to relax.
Oh.
So, I figure if Aaron Rodgers tells me to relax.
I'll tell you what's going to help is the Chicago Bears defense is not the Jets defense. It's not the Seahawks defense. It's not the Lions defense. So I think that the Packers are going to a little bit return to form this week.
Historically, Aaron Rodgers does play well in Chicago. And have we forgotten about last year when he threw that miracle 50-yard bomb to Randall Cobb?
Ooh, that was delicious.
Wasn't that a great pass?
Yeah.
I know. It was really, I enjoyed every part of that. I believe I even had him on. Won a lot of people some fantasy matchups as well. I think this will be another high-scoring affair. Both teams, the Bears want to put the Packers down because they know they can possibly gain first place in the NFC North. And the Packers don't want to go 1-3. They've started the last 3 years 1-2. But 1-3, when you're staring up 2 games beneath the Lions possibly and definitely the Bears, that's bad news, Bears.
That's a good connection.
Thank you.
All right, you've got Cutler in fourth. He's going against Green Bay, of course. Phillip Rivers versus Jacksonville is a juicy one. Start your Chargers this week. Jacksonville's terrible in every which way. Andrew Luck, home versus Tennessee, I think is a great play. And number 7, Matt Ryan at Minnesota. The Minnesota D is better than advertised.
It is. They only gave up. They won their Week 1 matchup. They put it to St. Louis. Week 2, technically, they only gave up 16 points.
I know because one of them was a pick six, right?
One of them was a pick six, pick 5.9, went all the way down to the 1 yard line.
Yeah,
And the other one was a blocked field goal return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
But then again, the Patriots' offense has been struggling. They did only give up 20 points in New Orleans, and New Orleans is usually a 30-plus point team at home. So that's actually what turned my head and/or grabbed my attention.
Mike Zimmer is a defensive coach not to be trifled with. So I think that the Vikings may surprise some people who have high expectations for the Falcons to duplicate the Thursday night slaughter of the Buccaneers.
Wow.
Oh man.
That was the entire Tampa Bay team actually filed a petition after the game asking if they could be put on the commissioner's exempt list.
Watching that game, I finally understood the people who get turned on by car wrecks.
I felt like I was watching the movie Crash, but the David Cronenberg one.
The much better one.
Yeah, where people make it with each other because they're in pain and have. It was. It is a better one too. That was just a miserable affair, and I don't expect Atlanta to come anywhere close to that. And Matt Ryan actually didn't have a crazy night.
He only played 3 quarters.
He really only had to play 2 1/4 because by the time he threw that 45-yard bomb to Julio in the early third quarter, he was done. He checked out.
Yeah. You've got Kirk Cousins, the Cousins revival. You were right about him last week. Well done.
Thank you.
The Giants secondary got a little bit depleted last week. Lost what's his face? The cornerback who former Seahawk.
Walter Thurmond.
Thank you, Walter Thurmond, with a torn pec for the year.
Oh, that's gotta hurt.
I've torn my pectoral before. It is the most painful thing I've ever felt.
Really?
Yeah, I've never given birth, I should note.
Has your team ever lost the Super Bowl with 36 seconds left when they were angling for a perfect season?
No.
No. All right, just imagine if you had 700 pectoral muscles and they were all torn by a vulture.
Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is your 9th QB. He's at home versus Tampa Bay, and that's got to be something that you're very excited about if you're a Steelers owner of any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, okay. Now, if you're the guy who, let's say, spent a little mid-round action on quarterbacks, maybe you grabbed Cutler and then grabbed Roethlisberger a little bit later because you didn't go for one of the marquee quarterbacks, many of which have not been performing appropriately. This is the week that you're excited about starting Roethlisberger. You're like, I got to start him on my bye week. Huge start this week against Tampa Bay, who have just been miserable.
No, I will say that you can't expect a 58-14 blowout of the same team every week, so you can't be too reactive. But I think it's safe to say the Buccaneers are bad.
They're not. Well, they're ungood.
One's accusing them of being.
No one's accused. Yeah, nobody's walking through that door saying we're good. We're good at this football game. No.
I think that you have Matt Stafford at number 10, ranked far too low, sir.
Now, I do understand that the Jets are in the lower third in terms of passing yardage and points allowed in the NFL. However, they didn't play as poorly as the 27 points that were hung on them last Monday night would indicate. They actually played a little bit better in the second half, and a lot of that had to do with Geno Smith playing, you look like a Jet, oh wait, you're on the other team, which is what he does with the football a lot.
True. It's he's an entertaining watch that way. The Jets are.
He's fun for me.
Here's my thought. You cannot run on the Jets. They're impossible to run on. And therefore, Matt Stafford will be throwing the ball. Because you can throw against them. And by the way, their secondary is terrible. And they have a couple guys named Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate. Matt Stafford's going to get his. He's a top 5 quarterback this week.
Top 5?
I'm calling it.
I'm calling it right now.
Yes,
that's your I can't wait to, that's your oh no he didn't.
I do need the occasional hot take to keep the needle moving, sir.
Okay, well here's mine. And you know what? I'll save mine for running backs, and it's on the same game.
Ooh.
So we'll see. I'll see your hot take, and I'll give you a hotter take.
We got to wrap up quarterbacks. I do want to take note of your number 12 quarterback, Colin Kaepernick versus Philadelphia. I think Kaepernick is a fantastic play this week. The Eagles, through 3 weeks, are 31st in the league in terms of allowing the opposing quarterback fantasy points. The only team allowing more fantasy points to quarterbacks is the Jaguars.
And we have Phillip Rivers ranked 5th overall.
Yeah.
and they don't have much of a running game. Perhaps I could have even listed Phillip Rivers a little higher.
Yeah.
If Rivers has been your starter all season, good for you. He's played very well this year. And if he was another one of those guys you grabbed as a bye week fill-in because you took another quarterback or your other guy has been playing better, you're going to kill it. My big issue with starting Colin Kaepernick this week, okay, again, 6 quarterbacks are out, many of which would be fantasy starters, is this is an identity-free football team. Actually, the identity of this team right now is that they don't know what to do in the second half of games. They need to play they need to have the scoreboard at Levi's at Blue Jean Stadium needs to say first and second quarter, then first and second quarter.
Yeah.
They can't play a second half for love or money.
That's a team that is one bad half away from like imploding and arguing at each other on the sidelines.
Yes.
Which would be delicious as a Seahawks fan.
Oh, I would just be. I think any and all fans would just love to watch them engage in a full-blown Royal Rumble on the sidelines.
All right, we've got to wrap up quarterback talk. But before we do, I just want to throw out 2 names: Teddy Bridgewater, Blake Bortles. Your expectations for them as they make their first NFL starts this week?
I would expect better numbers from Bortles because at least last week in garbage time, granted against the Indianapolis secondary, which is not as good as the now Brandon Flowers supercharged San Diego secondary. I would expect Bortles to put up slightly better numbers just because he looks a little better. And I wouldn't call them weapons, but I would call them pass-catching humans who do work in garbage time. He may put up more garbage time points. Teddy Bridgewater still looks like he's playing his pro day, just in a different uniform. The release point is weird, his footwork is all over the place, and the balls are sailing high.
Here's my thoughts on that. I'm with you that Bortles, is a better desperation to start than Bridgewater. Not
and
that
you
I
are
would
desperate.
Not that I'd recommend starting either. But Bridgewater's game plan is going to be so conservative. Bortles, I think, is going to get you an extra bonus 4 fantasy points. He's going to have those 40 or 50 yards rushing on the ground when the play breaks down and he takes off. He's a physical runner. He's going to get the extra points that way.
If you are starting Blake Bortles this week, then you are the equivalent of being somebody who is high and you're at a hotel and the only thing there is to eat is Tom's snacks in the vending machine.
My favorite tweet of the last week was the mighty MJD tweeted, Jimmy Johnson says Bortles gives Jacksonville the best chance to win, and maybe, in the same way, wearing shoes give me the best chance to outrun Usain Bolt.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
From the French town of Touche, where they're always one-upping each other.
Yeah, poor Jaguars.
I know.
All right, let's move on. Running backs.
All right. Oh, I would tell you what. This from the department of I have a bone to pick with you /
What?
No, not you. Just. Also, I thought of a name for this, for possibly for a segment for the show in the future, where if somebody really disappoints you, we could just do. How about this? And why not pitch segments in the middle of the show, Nick? You got it. I will. How about get off my lawn?
Oh, nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have a bone to pick with somebody, I can throw a VO behind that.
You came up with that just in the nick of time.
Touchdown.
Yeah. We just lost all of our
All of
viewers.
it. Everyone,
All of
no, unfollow, desubscribe, whatever the word is. Man, the big old boys, the top 5 dogs, the people that actually were drafted probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So, LaShawn McCoy, Jamal Charles,
Oof.
Adrian Peterson, Eddie Lacy, and Matt Forte has been the best of those top 5 picks.
Only in PPR leagues.
And yeah, he's been, and only because he's catching passes and getting some yards through that. Yeah. Now, I think that there's reason to feel good about LaShawn McCoy. Obviously, the Eagles' offensive line is in bad shape, but it will get better before the season's out.
Look, they're not the Patriots. Put it that way.
They're not the Patriots. I also think that for people that are in panic mode, on Eddie Lacy, I want to say, relax. It's going to be okay. Their first 3 opponents are 3 of the top 5 rushing defenses in the NFL. The Seahawks, Jets, and Lions are all allowing just 2.8 yards per carry.
Ferocious fronts.
Now, part of that has to do with going up against Eddie Lacy, because he does not look good. Last week, of his 11 carries, 5 of them went for 0 or negative yards.
Fumbled, and that was returned for a touchdown. Pivotal play in the game.
Yep.
In one play, where he didn't fumble, he actually Sanchez'd and ran right into the rear end of his right tackle for no reason, and then was brought down to the ground for a huge loss. He just doesn't look right. There's something, I don't know what it is. Maybe it was the concussion week 1. Maybe he was on track to get right back after it, and maybe that week 1 concussion could still be reverberating. We don't know. But this week he does get something of a bit of a pleasant surprise, or at least not a top 5 defense. The Packers have the 27th ranked rushing attack. The Bears are preparing to meet them with the 26th ranked rush defense. So now we have the resistible force against
Weakness
the movable
against
object.
weakness.
Yeah, now we've just got broken hand against dislocated elbow.
Just a bunch of limp wrists banging
Yeah.
into each other.
It's pretty sad. But so now you can be excited about him, and his schedule looks much better going forward. So if you were thinking like, that's it, I'm going to package him in a tight end, and I'm going to see if I can get DeMarco from somebody. Hey, he's great too, but it's not going to happen.